What's up, guys? It's Matt from the future yet again. I'm sorry, but I have to pop in again and say there are what I feel some issues with the audio not being as good as I wanted it to be in this episode. However, I really encourage you to stick with it through the whole episode. There is so much good information and talking points in this one, you're not going to want to miss out. So, thanks. Hopefully, this is the last time that I have issues. And without further ado, here's the episode. Greetings, nerds, and welcome back to Grey Shame Chronicles here at MK Mini Studio. In these installments, I invite you to take some time to catch up on your painting backlog while listening to an interview with a fellow artist. You can also watch us while we paint something from our own piles of shame. I'm your host, Matt Kinsey, and joining me today is none other than Mr. Steve Morrison.
Hey guys.
So Steve has been painting miniatures for 8 years. He's known for model conversions, kit bashing, excellent freehand skills, as well as being awarded the Warhammer Hero Award in 2025. So welcome, Steve.
How's it going?
Well, thanks for being with me today, for agreeing to come on. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, of course, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I found out about you from my previous guest, Chris, from episode 2. Um, I I don't remember exactly why it came up. I'm sure one of the two of us said something about model conversions, and then he brought you up, and he strongly recommended that you be a guest on the show. And I must say
Yeah.
that after seeing your work and hearing more about you, I'm very glad that he did.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, me and Chris go way back. We've been friends for quite a long time, actually, ever since I really started going to the shop. Probably like 12, 13 years now. So
Okay.
it's definitely been a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, that's excellent. And obviously, it's good to have close friends in the industry in the same hobby
Yeah,
field.
yeah,
So,
exactly. It's good to
oh, go
have
ahead.
play buddies for sure to get some games done.
Right. So, real quick, why don't you tell me about what you're currently painting? What are you working on?
So this, if you're not familiar, this is a 40K Chaos Knight. This is essentially one of the smaller guys, so it's an Armiger base, but Chaos Knight. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but it's a newer project I'm trying to work on. In the lore, they've got this really cool thing where like the machine spirits from the previous pilots are trapped in the actual chassis of the model. So I try to kind of represent that by the spirits coming out of the smokestacks. I actually have one that's a little bit more done right here that I can kind of show you what I'm talking about here a little bit more, but so just a
Oh,
ghost popping out of the smokestacks there.
okay, wow.
But yeah, it's been a fun project. I after my last project, which was a bunch of Bretonian undead knights, basically, which was another conversion project. I felt like I needed something big because I had close to like 50 small units in that one, and then also like 20 horses. So I was just like, you know what? I want something meaty. I want to work on something for a while. I need some bulk here still.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to do Mega Gargants, which is AOS, which is what I normally play. So I was like, well, you know what? I only have like two 40K armies. So what's to adding another one? Why not?
Yeah, and you can never have too many, right? And then
Yeah,
the
I've
pile
become kind of a fanatic.
the pile continues to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
But all right.
I was just going to say, I've kind of hit a weird milestone with my build pile of shame. I have a ton to paint, but I'm down to like one, like, I want to say foot by 2 foot thin of just models to build that are on sprue. So maybe like 5 or 6 kits, and that's it, which is a huge accomplishment for me. But
Okay, well, here's for
yeah,
progress.
yeah, exactly.
All right, and for me, I'm continuing doing some of these models that I designed on Hero Forge. This guy
Oh, shoot.
doesn't really go with the other guys that I've been painting. They're with the team I was calling Brute Force. This guy was just a
Okay.
fun design. I just wanted to make something that I thought was really cool, and so this would be a four-winged griffin man, and I call him
Okay.
Aegis, and I'm getting some kind of a bad glare, I think. Trying to make it come in a little better, but anyway,
Yeah,
so
he looks
yeah,
cool.
that's what I'm working on. No grand story, doesn't belong with any particular game system, just something I wanted to do, and I think that for me, I've been kept busy with a lot of other people's projects lately and sort of neglecting my own, so I'm trying to remedy that.
I feel that I actually just switched from working at the hobby store I was at to being a full-time commissioned painter. So I am right there with you.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, congratulations, I think.
Thank you.
Assuming
Yeah, I
that's
mean
something
it's
you wanted.
it's been working out now. Oh, 100%. Like it kind of surprised me. Over the last 3 years, I've been kind of doing it part time, and then I kind of took a leap a little while ago to do, drop a day from the shop and then start working on commission stuff. And one of my best clients, his name is Rye, has really been pushing me along as far as like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and trying to get me
Right.
set up and everything. And then finally, like maybe 2 weeks ago, I talked to my wife and I was just like, hey, I think I'm going to try this thing. And she was like, well, I mean, you're already making more than you make, so why not just do it? And I was like, well, okay, let's go. So
Hey,
here
if
we
you've
are.
got the wife's blessing, you're in.
Yeah, exactly. She's been a huge help for all of this and been very supportive of basically the entire hobby. And she's actually playing now too, which is kind of remarkable. I never thought I'd see the day, but here we are.
Right.
She loves Age of Sigmar. She's all into it, and I'm really happy about that.
I bet so. No, that's cool. And I mean, I have to echo that. Not that my wife plays, but that she's a huge help and support for me on the journey that I've been on. Um, and so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah,
But
100%.
we're talking about model conversions, and you've already kind of shown off some of what you do, what with the spirit coming out of the smokestack there. It didn't start that way. So why don't you
Yeah.
tell me, is there something that made you like want to do conversions on your models in the first place, or what drew you to that?
Well, to be 100% honest, at the very start, when I started playing this or doing this hobby in general, and playing Age of Sigmar, I didn't have all the cash in the world, so it kind of came from necessity, to be honest. Like a lot of it was like, okay, how do I turn this box of 5 guys into a box of 10 guys? So through that process, I learned how to reuse a lot of older miniatures and kind of bring them up to what I was trying to do with, a newer kit. I actually have a really good example of that right here. So recently, if you're familiar with, I know you don't play AOS, but there's a lineup of models called Stormcast Eternals. And that's basically what this top part is here.
Hmm.
And I basically found a lot of Stormcast Eternal models that were being unused because they've been retroactively kicked out of the game. So I've been
Hmm.
repurposing them into a Maggotkin of Nurgle army, which is what this conversion is all about. So this is basically a Fly Lord. I can't
Oh,
remember their exact name, but so like I said, it really kind of sprung from necessity in a lot of ways, and then eventually, of course, I started making better decisions and moving up in the world and getting a good job and all that stuff. And now
Hmm.
I've got a lot of money to play around with and do a whole bunch of stuff. But I don't think that mentality of trying to reuse older models that are kind of just put to the wayside has really left me. Like I'm even
Hmm.
working on a conversion army for I think it's called Turnip 28 or Turnip 27 is one of those things. It's a indie game, and I've reused a bunch of old like I guess Bretonians for that project as well. Just trying to bring purpose back to these little pieces of plastics so they don't end up in a landfill somewhere just
Sure.
going to waste kind of thing. So in a way, I've kind of become like the storage king of everybody else's old models, which is okay with
I
me.
gotcha.
That gives me plenty of projects to work with. So
No, I
But yeah,
think
that's where
that's
a lot of that came from.
yeah, I think that's good and fun and wise. Just like you said, making
Yeah.
those dollars stretch right whenever you get
Yep.
into the hobby
Exactly.
is very important. If you can do it, you definitely should. And
Well, and it also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go right ahead.
I was just gonna say, and it gives me a really fun opportunity to kind of give back to a lot of people too, because there's a lot of new people that want to join the game, but again, just like me, they don't necessarily have the funds to start. So just like, well, I rebuilt this entire orcs army, so it doesn't look exactly the same as you might see on the box art, but it'll play the same, so
Right.
which has been helpful. So
Yeah. No, that's great. Do you do any, well, I guess in this case I would call that really the same thing. I was going to say kit bashing. That's a kind of a hot word that gets thrown around in the hobby world a lot. And
yeah,
to me, it's not a whole lot different than just converting a model. But for
yeah,
your maggot flylord guy there, I would consider that a kit bash because you took
yep, yep,
pieces from different things and made them into something brand new. Whereas
100%, yep,
a conversion might just be, this really is the same model, but I gave him a ghost coming out of his smokestack.
yeah, and they kind of go hand in hand. I think it
I do
really
I do
just
think so
depends
too.
on what part of the process you're on, and like which guy you're trying to make. Like for example, I think this guy over here is a little bit more of like eh, starting from scratch essentially, and this is an orc buggy that
Oh,
was
there you
basically
go.
made from leftover sprues and a bunch of other pieces. I call him the war pig just because I think he's cool, but
That's
also got that nice
hilarious.
little freehand pig on the front.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
I I quickly found orcs, 40k orcs, to be one of my favorite factions just because it lets me take the opportunity to be as wacky as I possibly can be and just do a whole bunch of wacky freehand and stuff like that. So
Yeah. I mean, your
definitely,
your freehand work is the best that I've seen on any kind of
oh, thank
a
you. Yeah,
painted model at all. And
thank you.
it's seeing what you've done has inspired me to try my hand at it whenever I get the chance. Um, but I do need some larger surfaces, I feel. Something like a banner, like what you're working on, or that sort of thing. So, like, maybe not on this guy, but, I've got some projects coming up in the future that I have in mind uh,
Yeah,
to try some of that out on. So yeah, excellent work,
and
and thanks for showing that to us.
yeah, of course. One of the biggest things that I always tell people, especially when starting out with freehand, is learn how to overpaint. And I can kind of illustrate that here a little bit. So this is another banner that I've worked on for quite a while. So this is a Bretonian horse lord that's been converted into like an undead like horse lord basically. But like one of the big things that I think a lot of people kind of miss out on when they start their freehanding journey is that it doesn't have to start out perfect. Like
Of
really,
course.
you're not laying the lines where they're meant to be 100%. You really come back in with your background color and like bring all that back in,
Mm,
and that was a revelation to me when I first started doing a lot of freehand. It was just like, oh yeah, duh, duh, I can just paint this like I would like a canvas, duh. So that
mm,
makes a lot of sense. So
yeah.
hopefully that little tidbit's helpful there.
No, I think that it is definitely, and I do think that a lot of people have oh, how do I put it? The desire or thought process that they are going to get it just right on the first time, and so that whenever it doesn't happen,
Yeah.
they become really discouraged. Um,
Well, and you can kind of see here with what I'm doing. This is all just like a vague outline of what I want it to be. Like I've got this image in my head of like a screaming red skull,
mhm,
mostly because I've been watching a little bit too much Marvel,
I
So,
gotcha.
but I really wanted to pull like a red skull into something and just have it be part of the banner and something really poppy to go against the ghost essentially and kind of blend into that background. Um, But this is, very much just the beginning. It kind of looks like Deadpool in a weird kind of way too. But
I guess I see
as
what
I
you mean.
refine and go through it, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll keep sharpening and becoming something more or closer to what I'm actually looking for.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
as much definition as it has already, and we basically just got started, I'm very curious and excited to see where it ends.
yeah. Well, I'm not
And
promising anything right now because
yeah, correct. That's what I was
it
going to
takes me a little
say,
bit. But yeah,
is that, anytime that we have done these interviews, naturally nobody gets their model finished in just this short time. And so what we'll do is we'll come back later and you'll give me a picture
yeah.
of the finished product by the time I post this
Oh, I
episode,
like
and
that.
we'll put it at the end of the episode
That's an
after the
awesome
interview.
idea.
Yeah, so you can see
Yeah,
kind of what they became.
yeah. I like that a lot.
So, whenever you are making something from scratch or doing model conversions, I know you said it was born out of necessity, and also you kind
Mhm.
of have to work with what you've got. But is there a certain formula or thought process to how you go about doing that?
Well, I'm kind of a caveman when it comes to that aspect. I really just kind of take two pieces and jam them together, and if they don't work, I make them work, type
There
deal.
you
So
go.
it um, really, I guess, where it mainly comes from is I see like the potential of something. Like one of my buddies constantly asks me about like, oh, what's your next project on the horizon? And he kind of tries to, come up with something as interesting type deal.
Hmm.
Um, and one of the things that we've been kind of bouncing back and forth is trying to do something pirate themed, just
Okay.
because it's, it's a classic, right?
Sure.
Um, and one of the things I've always wanted to do was take, and I apologize, you may not understand these references, but there's Iron Jaws in AOS, which is essentially equivalent to 40k orcs. And I
Okay.
want to take the idea of Iron Jaws and turn it into orcs on boats instead of orcs on dragons and pigs.
Okay.
So I would just be handcrafting the boats and then putting them on as if they were like, one of the dragons is called a Maw Crusher, and that's the big dragon. So essentially, it'd be just called like SS Maw Crusher instead of being the actual
Okay.
dragon. This is kind of like a cheeky, like, oh look, this is a
These are pirate
goofy
orcs.
rendition of yeah, Pyroorcs, yeah. So something like that. So that's kind of how it evolves over time because I've been thinking about that idea for years now. And honestly, it's starting to sound a little bit more like we're going to do Skaven instead. So it'll be Pyrats, which will work even
Oh,
better. So
yeah, no, I totally could see that. That's really fun. Well, you'll
yeah,
have to
so
keep
that's
us
kind of how it.
posted on that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Well, speaking of Warhammer and Age of Sigmar and all that, I kind of teased it
Mhm.
at the intro that I gave to you about winning the award, the Warhammer Heroes Award. So, what's that all about? Why don't you give us a little insight to what it is and how you pulled it off?
Well, so Warhammer Heroes is essentially like a kind of a thank you from GW itself as like a hey, you've done some outstanding community work basically, and or like hobby work, and or there's a whole bunch of things you could essentially be nominated for. Really, where it came from, and I have to thank my gaming club for this and my boss, really, which is the Mid Table Mafia team that I'm on. Um, and my boss Eric Ward. They pretty much all sent in nominations when it came up, and they really felt that I had earned it at that point, mostly because I had made the group from I think it was like 5 or 6 or whatever we started with as far as people playing up to I think we have like 260 people in the Discord now.
You've got
So
to be kidding.
it's no, it took off like wildfire. And Chris Lauer, who you interviewed, is
Hmm.
actually one of those first like founding members that jumped in. So
Well, cool.
he was a huge part of like trying to get the groundwork laid out. he's been playing like forever, as far as these games go and everything like that. So, but I mean, people like him, and I could name a million names as far as like people that are involved in the group. But anyway, um, that got my foot in the door there, and I got nominated, and then I got picked, and then I got to go and receive the award and all this other stuff. Had a really fancy dinner and got to meet some of like the public, people that do a lot of the videos for GW, which was a lot of fun. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I watch you on TV. This is so cool. But I mean, it's I mean, it was a huge honor, and I definitely am really happy about it, and had a great time doing it, and would do again. But obviously, I can't be nominated a second time. So,
Yeah. But I mean, hey, of course you'd like to go back to the event, but the honor will stand
yeah,
with you forever.
yep,
And
exactly. So it was a
speaking
blast.
speaking of that, you're talking about how you um, helped to build up that community and the people that thanked you for helping in that regard. And you've mentioned your friendly local game store a couple times. And one of the
Yeah,
times that you and I spoke, you seemed rather passionate about the friendly local gaming store and being involved. So, is there anything that you can tell me more about that passion?
yeah. I mean, I think as well as a former employee now, I got to get used to saying that. Like, obviously, I have a motivation to get people in there and sell people stuff and all this other, the regular like shopkeep stuff that you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do. But really, what I guess that all came down for me. And honestly, like it's one of those things where I have to thank God for putting me in the right place for a lot of these situations. Like I got to meet and experience a lot of people's worst moments. And really, I know that sounds pretty dour, but it's not. Like, you know, guys, I find don't really have like a great way to communicate like what's going on in their life outside of their friends. And like some guys just don't have friends, you know what I mean? They're
Mm-hmm.
just starting out in a new area, or they've never really gotten along with anybody or anything like that.
Right.
And really what that community has kind of provided for me as far as like the people that I've met and the things that I've experienced is like a way in. Because I
Mm.
can't tell you how many people I've had come in and feel like, man, I came in here looking for just something to pass the time and keep my mind off of things, and then I ended up leaving with an entire community of friends. And like I can't I can't express how much that has changed my life. I've had that conversation multiple times, and that's what I like to hear. That's that we've actually made an impact on somebody's day to day, type
Yeah.
deal.
No, absolutely. I think that's wonderful. And very near and dear to my own heart, I would say. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of people may or may not know this, I guess. So I do miniatures painting now, but before
Mm-hmm.
I got into miniatures games, we were just into board games, my wife and I, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
got our first sort of gateway game, some 10 years ago, and not too long
Mm-hmm.
after that, for a variety of reasons. We started our own business where we sell tabletop games, and that business is still alive, though it's yet to turn into what I truly want it to be because, well, we still don't have a brick and mortar location at this point. But the point is,
Yeah.
we've still been able to host a number of events at various places, sometimes in the public, sometimes at our place. But the point is, one of the things that's very near and dear to our hearts is restoring in person relationships and camaraderie in a time whenever that is uh, needed more than ever, with the digital communities and things like that. I'm not saying they don't have their purpose, even you mentioned your Discord server a second ago, but it
Mm-hmm.
can't just stay there. So,
Well, and it's
anyways,
it's 100%. 100% different, meeting somebody in person versus meeting somebody online. Like
That's right.
I know, it may not feel like, but it really is like to see somebody face to face and then, not have that barrier between the two of you and just be able to talk about whatever you need to talk to or talk about,
Hmm.
type deals. So I
Yeah.
totally get it.
Yeah.
So what, what type of events do you guys run? Is it what, I guess, is it tied to a game or?
Not necessarily. There are some times that we've done tournaments for miniatures games or Pokemon or different just kind of things like that.
Okay.
But these days we
Yeah.
tend to set up at pop-up shops, and we actually have a gaming convention in our hometown that started a couple years ago, and we've been able to be present and supportive in that, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, that's
So.
cool.
Yeah,
We
but
have
also just trying to
several.
spread the word. That's one of the other
Yeah.
things is oh goodness, you got me talking about me now. We're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to talk about you. But
Well,
seriously though, you
I like
mentioned
asking questions too.
you had mentioned doing the shopkeep things you're supposed to, trying to sell product and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As much as you know that is part of our business with our shop's called Nuclear Nerd. But
Mhm.
aside from that, we really are trying to bring fun into people's lives much more than
Yeah.
simply make money or anything like that.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
that's one of our desires.
Yeah.
So,
I totally
and
understand
I
that
know
perspective.
earlier we mentioned how long you've been painting miniatures. You said about 8 years, but then you
Yeah.
also mentioned canvas painting, and I
Hmm.
think it really shows on your freehand work that clearly
Yeah.
you have more experience with art than just miniatures. So,
Yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What drew you into the art realm?
Well, 100%, like from a very early age, like I picked up a paintbrush right away. I mean, mostly, well, actually, I should say a pencil. So I was mostly drawing when I was younger. I got really lucky. My mom, who was a daycare operator for many, many years, she was a director. She was all that, she recognized, something as far as like, oh, this little guy has a particular propensity to draw really
Mm,
cool things really well right off the bat. So, she really encouraged me to keep going, and I was only a little kid at that point, but,
yeah.
she was always one of my biggest cheerleaders, behind me trying to get me to do all kinds of crazy things. And that stayed with us for pretty much my entire, middle school and high school careers. Like that was all the only class I really was that interested in. And
Right.
unfortunately, like I didn't really learn a whole lot of anything else, to
Uh-oh.
be 100% honest. So it worked out okay in the end.
Yeah, I think I was getting
I
ready to
was
say that.
actually I was actually going I was about halfway through college, to be a art teacher, when my scholarships ran out, basically at the school that I was at, and it's one of the bigger art schools in Colorado called Rocky Mountain College of Art Design. And I took one look at the bill that I would be paying after my scholarships ran out, and I was like, you know what? I think we're going to try something else. And it was at the time, it was probably a huge mistake, but it kind of led me to where I am now, and I can't complain too much. I spent 10 years grooming dogs too, so that was an adventure. I learned a lot about
Whoa.
dogs. Yeah. And then eventually I stumbled upon Collectormania, which is the FLGS that I was working at, and this was probably 2000. It was right after I got married, so it was 2011.
Nice.
It was literally on our way back from our honeymoon. My wife
Okay.
was just like, "Hey, you haven't spent a lot of time with your friend Lauren, who kind of got me into a bunch of different hobbies, and he played Magic."
Hmm.
So it, she was like, "Well, why don't we go into that store and see like what we can find as far as magic cards so you can play some games with Lauren, you know.
Mm.
And I found Magic and fell in love with it and played that for a great deal of years. And oddly enough, my art background didn't come up in miniatures. It actually came up in altering Magic cards, which actually became a pretty lucrative side business while I was grooming dogs. So it was actually
Holy
kind of funny
smokes.
that it all kind of worked the way that it did. And then eventually I got tired of altering Magic cards because unfortunately the crowd that I was running around with didn't really have a whole lot of intention to ever pay me, so they would just
Mm.
trade me magic cards back. So I just kept ending up with more and more magic cards, and I was just like, I mean, I like this game and it's really cool, and I have 70 something decks or whatever now, but
Right.
I can't keep taking magic cards as payment. So I stopped
Right.
doing that like pretty, cold turkey. And then anyway, eventually that led into me hurting my back at PetSmart, which is where I was working, and not being able to perform the job as far as grooming
Mm.
was going very well. And then them being, I think it was, they went public at some point, and then everything about their business model changed, and it was a lot less about like the actual care for the dogs and everything like that. And
Mm.
finally, I had known Eric for several years at that point. We, grown as close as friends just through Magic, and he was
Mm-hmm.
the manager of the store. And I talked to him, and I was like, hey, like, do you need anybody? Do you need any help, basically? And at the time, oddly enough, he had just had two employees basically having to walk out on him, so it
Oh,
was just
wow.
like perfect timing. So then I
Hmm.
started working there, and the rest of that is history. So
Okay.
and here we are now, just doing painting. So it's a whole crazy world, right?
I agree, but a great series of events.
Yeah,
Maybe even if it didn't seem like it at first, you know. Um,
yeah, yeah,
hmm.
100%.
All right. So, in the time from when you started until now, can you think of of a specific time when you had a real breakthrough with the hobby?
Yeah, 100%. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. Because I had come into it with a little bit of natural talent,
Indeed.
just from canvas painting and watercolor painting and all the stuff that I had done. But I had really been ignoring like the basic principles, as far as like layer painting goes, or even, I mean, a ton of them really, to be honest. And one of my good friends, Jay, who's definitely my hobby mentor, he's a phenomenal painter. I would say you should definitely get him on, but he wouldn't come on. He's definitely a little bit of a curmudgeon when it comes to YouTube and stuff. Maybe, I don't know, you'd have a chance, but he's probably one of the best painters I know in real life. He kind of, in his own way, told me, "Hey, you're neglecting all these fundamentals, and like you should be able to do them. Like, there's no question.
Sure.
I don't understand why you're having a hard time with these." And 100%, like, I knew what he was talking about. I was being lazy. Like, I was just letting my natural talent just kind of carry me to a certain point,
Hmm.
and then I couldn't, reach that point because I didn't learn anything in the
Sure.
beginning. I just kind of started going, type deal. So I would say the biggest thing for me, 100%, was learning how to layer paint. I won't say that he taught me how to do it, but I spent probably 2 years watching him do it. And
Hmm.
that kind of reinforced everything for me. And then eventually, like, one of the big things, and I can show you this too, like, I've really been trying to work on non-metallic metals, which is, I know,
Yep.
one of the big things, like, for a lot of people. And this is probably as good as I've gotten so far, which I
A
really
little out
like,
of
but
focus, but I can see
oh,
it and I
let me,
can tell that you did a great job. Yeah, there it
thank you.
goes. Okay.
I don't know if it's any,
Yeah,
there
man.
we
I
go.
mean, it's incredible. It's really,
Thank
really
you.
good.
So just little like things like that I just neglected for such a long time, and then
Hmm.
finally his kick in the butt really like was like, okay, I should probably learn how to do this the right way.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And, thank goodness you have someone in your life like that, not only to learn from, but to spur you on.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, and it
great.
was definitely a little bit of a rivalry too, because
Uh-oh.
we actually we went to high school together a long, long time ago, and he's always been really, really, really good at painting miniatures, and I was like, well, I want to be really good at painting miniatures too, so
Oh,
I'm
is that
gonna
right?
start learning from you. Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
I don't know if I'm quite to his level yet or anything like that, but every once in a while when we sit down and paint, I look over at what he's doing and I'm like, I'm getting there.
There
I'm
you
getting there.
go. See, I see stuff like what you're doing, and I say the same thing.
Well, I mean, I've seen your stuff before. It looks great. So you're
No,
a phenomenal painter as well.
I appreciate it. And I think, that's something that Chris and I briefly touched on um, in
Mhm.
our episode last was, you can lose yourself in a comparison game if you really wanted to,
Oh
but
yeah.
naturally that would suck all the fun out of everything and therefore just suck. So don't do that. Every
Yeah,
painter
yeah.
has
No.
their own strengths and weaknesses, and I told him that, like, I don't meet a lot of people, especially in person, that are as enthused about miniatures painting as myself. So
Mhm.
anytime I catch somebody and realize that they're into it at all, I am like stoked and eager to see anything they're willing to share.
And that's really funny for me because I have the exact opposite situation. Like I'm surrounded by so many phenomenal painters. Like I don't know what it is about our particular location and
Hmm.
store or whatever, setup. Like we have drawn in some of the best painters, I think, honestly, in Colorado. Like
Oh wow.
they there's a guy, his name is Chad. He works on well, he's he essentially spends like 4 years on an army. And he's got a Lumineth army that is just spectacular. Like it basically, if he had a display board at every AOS tournament, he would just auto win. And
I
that's
see.
one of the things that's kind of been holding him back because display board is actually counted as part of your points. So, and he vehemently disagrees with display boards. So we recently did a teams tournament together actually, and I made him be part of our display board. So
Hmm.
I hope that kind of spurred him into like, okay, this really isn't that
Sure.
bad. But like that's just an example. Like, and Chris, as you know, is also a great painter. Like,
Hmm.
there's another guy named Chris Mabbitt who is another phenomenal painter. Like, I can go on and name so many names. We have gotten really lucky in our hobby pool just to have such a breadth of different styles, different techniques, different
Mm.
focuses. And it really kind of I kind of liken it to like the what is the saying? It's like the tide raises all ships or whatever
Hmm.
it
A
is type
rising
deal.
tide raises all ships.
There we go. Thank you. So it's really kind of just helped us all out in a lot of ways. And I'm trying to really there's another guy, his name is Adam, and he's put together this really good painting group that's a little bit more focused on like display painting versus army painting because that's mostly what I focus on is army painting, just because it's part of my job now
Mm.
and it's something I have a real passion for versus display painting. But he's really been trying to get a lot of the same guys into doing display models instead of just armies. And I think that's another one of those things that's kind of helping us refocus a little bit as far as
Okay.
like, okay. And that's the whole reason why I started doing metallic metals as well, is just because I know that's a really big thing in display painting type
Sure.
deal. So I guess I feel extremely lucky after hearing, your situation of not as many painters that we have that group behind us, I guess, a little bit.
Right. And maybe it's my fault. Maybe I live under a rock a little too often, but that's
Well, yeah.
not my intention.
Well, I know
So,
the idea is eventually to have your own FLGS, right? But
yeah,
is there any other FLGSs around that you know of that have painters there?
that's correct. Yeah, but basically they meet on nights that I don't or I'm not able to.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that
but
sucks.
no, actually, one of the guys, he was actually my guest on episode one. We met in town at a different kind of event and have become
Mhm.
friends. Great guy, great painter.
Well, that's awesome.
Um, do you have a favorite technique that you've learned?
Um, well, yeah. I mean, I don't want to be boring and say freehanding, but I definitely really like freehanding. Um, I would say secondarily to that, and this is kind of counterproductive in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know what it is about grim dark painting styles, but like streak and grime is my best friend. Like,
Okay,
I love that like reductive technique. I don't know what it is about it, and I get a lot of flack for it because a lot of people kind of think it's a lazy way to paint, but I've been really striving to try and elevate it as much as I possibly can.
sure.
As far as like, I'm going to use this technique as a base. Like, for example, going back to this other night,
Yeah, please show me. I want to learn.
like a lot of this is, this, I think this like kind of very like desaturated, dull, like shadow is all that, streaking grime slash reductive techniques, using a lot of oils, using a lot of like, I guess, scratchy line work, that type of
Hmm.
stuff, leaning a little bit more into like the grim dark aspects. If you understand the 40k or like the Warhammer term, basically, I know that's kind of graduated from less of a Warhammer thing and just to a painting style on its own.
Right, I think
But
so.
yeah, outside of freehanding, like I think just doing like the grim dark reductive techniques, it's my cup of tea. I love doing it. It's so much
Right,
fun. It's something I like doing as far as like, oh, I want to relax on this piece and not feel like I'm constrained. Because I mean, like I go from like this, super dark to something a little bit more bright and punchy, which is more layer painting, so more traditional layer painting there,
right.
which is definitely a whole different feel.
Sure, definitely. Especially when you have bright blue grass on your base.
Oh yeah, yeah. I gotta be as individual as I possibly can. I'm a snowflake that way, 100%, which is also what probably led me into converting everything. So,
Yeah,
oh,
no, I get that. I don't do conversions as much as I would like, for sure, but I've definitely done my fair share and some from scratch builds and even from scratch sculpting, things like
mhm.
that. You know, I'm that guy, and I probably said this in another episode already too, but I'm that guy that always loved the character creator in RPGs whenever I could just really
Oh yeah,
run wild with whatever I wanted to do. And there's something about the open-endedness and letting your imagination just kind of take off that's very
being that,
freeing to me, I think I would
yeah,
say. And it draws me to the painting world.
I would say in that way we were very much kindred spirits. I remember my wife was a huge Halo player for
Okay.
a very long time, and the only Halo that I've ever actually liked is Halo Reach, just because you can design your own Spartan.
Well, there you go.
Like 100%. Like I couldn't get why I always had to be this Master Chief guy. I wanted to be my own
There you go.
guy.
No, that's perfect. All right. And going back to I asked you about your favorite technique and you had mentioned the
Yep.
the freehand painting, but then a second ago you were
Yeah.
talking about from all the different painters at your FLGS having all their different styles and stuff like that. You know, I would say that the freehand is definitely your style and you've really honed it
Oh yeah.
well and it
Thank you.
shows. It shows.
Thanks.
So, that being said, what is something about painting that you hate?
Well, this will be probably no surprise to any commission painter out there, but honestly, I could probably live without ever painting another Space Marine again. But I I understand that's part of the gig. And oddly enough, I even have my own Space Marine army that's halfway painted as well. So
Hmm.
it's something I have to live with. Um, as far as like techniques or things I don't necessarily like doing, I honestly I haven't really come up against any of them. There's
Mm,
ones that are hard for me, and it's more of like I like meeting that challenge. Like OSL is another one of those things where you can make it super easy with an airbrush and you can just do it.
of course. Yeah, yeah,
But
you're right.
to truly understand it, I think you have to try and step away from the airbrush and,
Mm,
do it with paintbrush and then kind of like explore it that way. And OSL has kind of been one of those things that I wouldn't say I dislike it, but it's definitely one of those that kind of makes me scratch my head. But the
mm,
thing is I felt the same exact thing about non-metallic metal before I talked to the right person about, how to do this, because it took me going through three other painters that I knew did well as far as like non-metallic metal to kind of start grasping what is actually going on. And finally, I found one guy, again, Adam, the guy that was starting the painting or is part of the painting group. And his way of teaching me just opened everything up for me. Like it was revolutionary because I had had Jay try to show me, I had several other people try and show me, and nothing was really sticking because of the way they did it. Versus I
okay.
found Adam and he did it a certain way that just clicked in my brain. And it was just like, oh, okay, this makes sense now somehow.
So
So yeah,
is
very,
is there a way that you can explain that to the rest of us that still really need a lot of help with non-metallic metal?
I mean, 100%. I think it comes down to having confidence in yourself. And I know that kind of sounds ridiculous, but like I, for a very long time, kept second guessing what I was doing. And I would go over a part that was actually representing and showing non-metallic well, thinking that it wasn't correct. And it was
Mm,
mostly just me getting in my own way. Now, I don't think I'm great at non-metallic by any stretch of the imagination, but I can see the progression now. Because there was
mm,
definitely a time where I was running up against a wall and nothing I was doing was sticking. And then finally I started doing those broad axes, and that shape even helped me figure out like what I was doing. Because I haven't even gotten into like light reflecting. You know what I'm trying to say? I
yes, I
can't say
do.
it. Back. So I've really just started to touch on like, okay, well, I'm doing these general like highlights, midtones, and like edge highlighting. And that's really all I'm doing right now. I'm not playing around with the physics of it, which I think is really the next step. And there
Mm,
are some phenomenal, non-metallic metal painters out there. And like you said earlier, you kind of can't look at their stuff and compare
right,
because you'll just always kind of get trapped into, man, I can't do this. There's no way.
right. But that goes back to
So
the
long story
confidence
short,
thing you were saying.
yep, have confidence in yourself and just keep going. Like that's everything in this hobby as far as painting goes is just stick your nose in it and keep going 100%.
Very good. No, I think that's wise. Do you have a favorite piece that you've done?
Oddly enough, I've already gathered that. So this guy
I better clean
was
my
really my
brush so I can
inspiration
gawk.
for was really my inspiration for my entire undead Bretonian army.
Okay.
And I had actually started him right when I had my son, which was about I want to say 18 months ago, and had to put him down for a very long time. But
Mm,
in between, like putting him down and being able to pick him back up, I had learned so much, just doing other people's projects as far as like freehanding and stuff like
mm-hmm,
that went, like
mm-hmm.
all these little roses and everything like that. I love the fade to purple away from blue or vice versa, whichever way you want to talk about it. And then like the scythe here, like
Mm-hmm.
definitely one of my favorite things as far
Yeah.
as the spirits trapped within the scythe for the necromancer,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And the little face on the book too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just love that little detail. So
Yeah.
right
This.
now,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say right now this is probably my favorite guy or favorite piece, but obviously it will constantly evolve into something new
Right.
all the time.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Which actually reminds me, you had asked me to show you something once I started painting it based off of a photo from my desk. So I actually brought this guy to show you what progress I've made on him.
Oh my gosh.
So the
That's
weird
really come
horse-headed
along.
Vargolf, yep. So he was just solid purple last time you saw
Yeah,
So
for sure.
unfortunately, I had a child mishap where one of my kids got in my studio and dropped this guy, so I'm missing part of his
Mm,
wing there.
yep.
So I'm debating on whether I want to convert that or not convert it, but make it look like it's purposeful damage, essentially like he
Right.
got into a battle and lost
Mm-hmm.
it, or if I want to spend the countless hours searching my floor to try and find the broken wing piece. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
No, that's insane. How
Thank you.
seamless the transition from that horse head is to the rest of it.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen the actual model, but I think it's called a Lamasu. So it's based off a Lamasu, which is essentially like a weird. It's a humanoid body on top of like a winged beast. So it's got this weird thing where it's got like six limbs, and the wings are in the middle of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I applaud GW for taking I guess, the jump into using such a weird creature as one of their models,
Mm-hmm.
but I was not a huge fan.
I
I did
see.
not like that thing at all. It was just like, this makes no sense. How, like, can you imagine that thing flying through the sky? It'd be the funniest thing you've ever seen. So it
I
does not
see.
inspire fear in me at all. So basically, I just chopped off the upper torso, did a little bit of green stuff sculpting, and then
Mm-hmm.
found that horse head from a Chaos Knights kit and kind of just molded it to stick, in the right place. And then just got a little bit of hobby chain because that's one of the best ways to hide things. 100% use that
Oh, I gotcha.
if you need to.
Yeah, no, that
Um,
that
and then just
looked
yeah,
like it was part of it. So
yep,
well done,
yep.
well done. And
Thank you.
you showed me your dwarf necromancer guy a second ago, and
Yep.
you were talking about him being your favorite piece right now, and
Hmm.
understandably so. That is a piece that you
Yeah.
had actually sent me a picture of a while ago, and
Oh,
what
yep.
what really stood out to me were the skulls on the scythe,
Hmm.
because I remember thinking to myself that it's just so darn inventive and creative to even think
Oh,
of
thanks.
doing something like that, that to me, I'm like, this is better than non-metallic metal. Like, you could have painted that up in non-metallic metal and it wouldn't have looked as cool or as good or as creative as what you did there. So I'm glad you pulled
Oh,
that one
I
out so
appreciate
I
that.
could mention that. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And then
Yeah.
the other thing was what I thought about whenever you showed that piece, because the basing, you really take a lot of time and care into your basing as well. And I
Yeah.
mean, on this guy, I don't know how well it shows. This doesn't really count to me because even though he's standing on these cool like protruding rock things or whatever, that
Hmm.
was built into the Hero Forge thing. It didn't take as much for me to just like click that option and take it. But what I would say
Well,
is
it's.
that normally, basing is kind of like it's always something that I want to look good, but not necessarily
Mhm.
something that I take the time to be creative with. And so
Yeah.
I have next to me my six most recently completed figures, which I didn't start on until after you had shown me your pictures. And so
Okay.
your basing on those really inspired me, and I'm like, I gotta make some models that have some really cool basing. And so I wanted to show them to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's see.
I'll probably have to stop painting to pay attention here, though.
No, I get it. So here's this guy.
Yeah. See.
And so this is
Oh, that's
all I
great.
found this it's not just cork, but it was like extra thick cork at like a yard sale or something, and I'm like, I'm buying that and I know exactly what I'm doing with it. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that looks
so
awesome.
here's one, and then you can see these plants down in here.
Hmm.
They are a product from Gamer's Grass. I don't know if you use
Yep.
Gamer's Grass, but these are laser cut plants, and they're super effective. And so I've got a group of three of these beetle guys here. Now these are some figures from
But
Conquest, and
I'm a huge fan of blue into teal, so blue into teal greens. Like you hit it on the head right
up
there as far
here.
as that transition on the shell there. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. So, and that's some of the first I've kind of messed around with this, that sort of
Yeah,
thing. And this was the basing was my creative part here. As far as the actual
yeah.
paint on the models, that is the box art. So I was just trying to
Oh, okay.
mimic what they had going.
Yeah, well, you did a good job, and I really like the basing. Like that's good stuff you got
So,
there. Like I like in particular, like the different greens. I think that's a great idea as far as like the basing goes.
hmm
That adds that contrast and that depth a little bit, you know.
right. And then I've got one more that I'll show, but these are all part of the same faction called Weaver Courts, and so I wanted them to all be
Nice,
tied in together, obviously,
nice.
with their base. So, but anyway,
Yeah,
thank you for your inspiration, because I think that these
yeah,
turned
of
out really
course.
nice, and I
Yeah,
don't
they
think I
look
would have
great.
tried that hard on the basing if it weren't for you.
I it's definitely something that I struggle with at times too. Honestly, like it's part of the game. AOS, well, really 40K is the big one, and I had always kind of gotten in trouble for this in a way, not like actual trouble, but like other people would be like, "What are you doing?" Um, One of the really big things with 40K is that you don't really want to do that much to your basing because you essentially make yourself a larger target as
Correct.
far as like its true line of sight. So if you've elevated your model to a certain point, now you're always visible.
Right.
Um, and in the early days of AOS, it was like that too. Thankfully, we've kind of moved away from that system in a lot of ways, but
Mm,
it can be a hindrance as far as like gaming. And I think that's another big difference between obviously like doing a little bit more display painting versus like army painting versus, all that other stuff. So,
correct.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get you because it's hard to like keep that balance of like, okay, I've got to play with this thing, but I also want it to look good,
Correct.
type deal.
Yeah. And I
And I think you
think,
did a really good job there. So,
well, thank you. But
yeah.
going back to like the commission painting world, in a lot of ways, you're just
Hmm.
trying to churn things out, and it's easy
Yep.
to overlook opportunities to take that extra step, so to speak, or to let it be a afterthought.
I
So,
always know when because I always have like a meeting with somebody before I start painting their miniatures.
mhm,
And I can always tell which projects I'm really going to enjoy versus which projects I'm going to have to fight through
mhm,
based on several answers as far as like, okay, do you like this or do you like that or what are you trying to go for here? And unfortunately for me, one of my biggest things is that I hate painting box art. Like I can't stand it.
mm,
I think we go back to the snowflakey thing where it's just like, I don't want this to look like everybody else's type
right,
deal. Obviously I've gotten over that, doing it as a profession, but
right,
I've gotten extremely blessed with a lot of really good customers that are just like, you know what, Steve, just do what you want. just
right.
just have fun.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
okay, let's go.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to be in that same camp where most of the
Yeah,
folks are like, open to artist interpretation.
yeah.
So,
Well, and that speaks for your work as well, because it shows that they have a level of confidence in you, in particular, to let you make those executive
yeah, no,
decisions.
I mean,
You know,
that's a great way to think about it. So,
well, I mean, at the end of the day, they're coming to you for a service, right? It's
that's right.
because it's something that they either don't have time to do or they don't have the skills to do. So if they can trust you, which I mean, based on Chris has told me a lot of things that you've essentially sent and done for him.
Mm.
Like one of the things that I want to pick up from you 100% is like at the very tail end with like the handwritten note. Like he goes on and on about that. So
Oh,
you
really?
struck a chord with him as far as, oh yeah, he loves that. He's just like,
Okay.
this is such a nice personal touch that like, and he was telling me because I also do commission stuff for him as well.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me, he was like, hey, if you want to turn it up a notch, basically start
He's
doing
like,
things like
do
that for
this.
people. So yeah, you've inspired me. So it's just like, okay,
Well,
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 once
well,
I start
well.
finishing some projects,
I'm flattered and honored. So
yeah,
again, we're not here to talk about me, but
yeah, I know. I keep doing that. I'm sorry.
no, you're
I
good.
just I like to conversate.
Of course, no, it's perfect, and
Yeah,
honestly, that's just what this format is for. I'm giving you a hard time, but
yeah, yeah.
you were mentioning earlier about somebody asking you if you've got projects coming up or not, and I guess them trying to give you
Mhm,
ideas. And you already talked about your pirates, but
mhm.
one of the things I always ask the guest is, do you have any cool projects on the horizon?
So I don't, it's a tricky project, and it's probably one of the biggest challenges that I've ever really set aside for myself. But um, I have this. I don't know if you're familiar with the army, but it's called Iron the Thiefkin. And it's basically like a army of elves that have all become kind of like, they're not mermaids, but they live in the sea basically.
Oh, okay, okay.
So with that comes a whole bunch of sea monsters. So they've got sharks, they've got eels, they've got everything under the sun.
Yeah.
I'm hoping one day they do a giant centerpiece like Kraken. I would lose
Mm-hmm.
my mind. But anyway, it's technically my wife's army, so it's not even really mine.
Uh-huh.
But she kind of has let the reins go and said, "Okay, you paint this one because I'm going to spend so much time painting what she's working on right now, basically."
Mm.
So the challenge and what I really want to get right with this thing is I really want to do that specular light, I guess, effect where you see like the transition of the waves above on the model. So like
Okay,
that, kind of
so
like
it's
that
like the light
zigzaggy
shining
cross
through.
pattern. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my next challenge because I feel like
Snap.
in a lot of ways I've kind of set myself up for it because I understand like the freehanding aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting down to the actual light source and the like, I guess the OSL part of it,
Right.
that I'm gonna struggle with 100%. But I'm here for it. We'll see if it ever turns into something, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I would go so far as to say that's a combination of OSL, freehand, and not really non-metallic metals, but there's that aspect to it where you're going to be layering and knowing where the light hits and doesn't and stuff like that. So, man, it
So it's a
certainly
very
does sound
subtle,
like,
fine transition, right?
yeah, that's also true. It certainly sounds like a challenge, but I can't wait to see what you come up with. So, yeah, that's
100%.
cool. And so you said your wife's army, but she's hands off and giving it to you, so she also paints then.
Oh yeah, um that's actually how we met. She's also a watercolor artist. She's been working in all kinds of different mediums for as since she was a little kid as well.
Mm,
Uh, her her big thing, and because she kind of put a little bit of like a stopper on her miniatures career, basically, just by not having confidence to do it, because she was just
mm,
like, I don't know if I can paint like that, and it, I not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but it was definitely intimidating for her to kind of step into my space
sure.
because I'd been doing it for a while at that time. But
Right.
really, it was one of those things where it's just like, sweetheart, like I'm I'm here to help you. I'm not
Right.
here,
It's
like you
not a
said, the
competition.
comparison thing. Like don't compare what you just started basically in miniature painting. So don't compare what we're doing. And
Exactly.
I'll be 100% honest. Like she's better than me when I started, so I have a feeling that if she sticks with it, she'll be a phenomenal painter
There
someday
you
too.
go.
So it's like one of those things.
Yeah.
But we actually met way back when on a school trip that was an art club trip. So that's actually how we got together. So
Okay. Well, super
yeah,
neat. So, all that being said, why?
yeah.
Why do you paint? What is it that drives you and keeps you coming back for more?
Well, it That's here. I gotta think about that for a second. I mean, I think a big part of it, and when I was younger, um, when I started doing all this as a kid, I definitely had a really good time, and I had a lot of adults that were kind of egging me on to do all these things and
Mm.
go and be like a professional artist and all this other stuff. And oddly enough, I've ended up where I am. But um, I kind of I got into that world without really having a passion for it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like I had the interest in the skills and all that other stuff, but I had no passion for the actual world because I always felt it was a little bit too, I don't know, snooty or
Oh,
snobby
there you
is a
go.
good way to
Yeah.
put it. I
Yeah.
know that's not actually how 100% it is, but in a way it kind of is.
I think it depends on the branch, the
Yeah,
particular
one,
genre, perhaps.
yeah. So, like, I would say at this point, I kind of went on a tangent there. I'm sorry.
You're
One of the
fine.
reasons that I continue to do this and keep pushing myself into different skills and avenues. And this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but I like that it introduces me to new people. Like 100%. Like this hobby in general has helped me meet so many interesting, different people that I would have never met before. Like
Yeah.
I
No,
love
I
going to
totally get it.
tournaments and doing painting awards and all other stuff. Like I don't even go to play anymore. I'm 100% there just to talk about painting and people
Mm.
that are trying to do things. I Part of that whole I want to be an art teacher thing has just kind of followed me through this entire journey because
Ah,
I
yes,
love
yes.
teaching people how to paint,
Yeah.
and that's a huge thing for me. So I would say that's why I kind of keep doing is to kind of help others. As like I said, kind of cheesy as that sounds, it really kind of drives me.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that makes a ton of sense. And I mean, I can 100% relate to the people you meet that you wouldn't have and those relationships that form and stay with you. So, no, I think that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, what would you say to someone that has considered getting into the hobby but hasn't pulled the trigger yet?
Well, I'd probably ask them what's holding them up, 100%. Like, because as again, going back to my kind of salesmanship part of this whole journey, like, I definitely ran into that more than once or twice. And usually, unfortunately, it kind of comes down to finances and all that other stuff. And really, with Games Workshop, it's such a titan of the gaming industry as far as like everything goes. And it reflects in the cost of the game. Unfortunately, you're looking at essentially starting at $500 to get into the game, which is for
Right.
me. But yeah, I
Yes.
would probably 100% start with asking what's holding them up, and I know that's kind of a non-answer, but like everybody's got their own little hang up, right? And I don't feel like miniature painting in itself is that difficult to get into with the amount of resources that we have nowadays. Like you can go down to Michael's or Hobby Lobby or whatever you have in your local area and probably find
Mm-hmm.
all the tools and resources that you actually need to do miniature painting
Right.
for sub $100, just to get started.
Right.
So I, I guess it all comes down to like, what are you after as far as in the hobby? Are you looking to do display painting? Are you looking to do army painting? Are you looking to do XYZ? So yeah, again, sorry, I'm answering your question with a bunch of questions, but that's kind of how I view it.
Okay. Fair enough.
This I will 100% say that painting under my phone is more difficult than gaming normally. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
I'm
It's
over here like I can't see anything that I'm doing.
right. So I've got
So hopefully
a
this doesn't look terrible, guys.
no, you're doing well, and here in just a second we'll take a look at the progress that we've made. I've got a particular stand. It's like one of those circle lights that you see all the
Mhm.
YouTubers and streamers and stuff use, but it has a phone holder in the middle of it.
Okay,
And because of
so it gives you
the
the light. as well?
Well, it keeps the figure lit up, but what happens is I can
Mhm.
actually see through it. So it's like
Oh.
it's far enough away so that my paintbrush isn't hitting the light, which is something that I used to do a lot. But
Hmm.
then also, my phone can see the thing, but because of a gap in the where my phone is versus the actual ring light, I have a clear tunnel access to see my figure as well.
Yeah.
So that helped me a lot.
That's
But
yeah.
yeah,
I might have to invest in one of those.
if you're in a place, you, Steve, you, the viewer, where you do not have to record
Mhm.
yourself painting, don't. It's a lot better to
Yeah.
not. Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's
It
what
is
I
a
would say.
special kind of challenge.
That's correct. That's correct. You do, I guess, get
Yep.
used to it, and even that, in a sense, is a skill to hone.
Yeah.
But
Well, some of these guys on the internet now, I don't know if you watch Ninja at all, but
it's
he
somebody
makes it
that
look like it's
he makes it look easy.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's somebody
Well,
that
maybe
I know by name and have meant to look into, but when the time comes, I just forget about it. So I'll need you.
you
You
should
gotta text me
100%.
or something so that I can
Yeah.
remind myself, jog my memory.
Yeah. I'll send you a link to a video. He does a really good job, but at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm certain he does. Um, all right. That's pretty much the questions that I had for you. I'm not stopping the
Cool.
conversation per se, but
Yeah.
is there any closing remarks that you would have?
I mean, I guess getting back to as far as like painters and new painters and everything like that, just
Hmm.
kind of an encouraging word is like I've been through so like teaching so many people like the basics and just trying to help people avoid the pitfall that I ran into basically. And
And
so
what
many people kind of get
pitfall
up
was
caught
that?
up into like the pitfall of like not learning the fundamentals at the start
Mm.
and just kind of brute forcing my way through it basically until I got corrected by rightfully so by just saying, hey, you haven't learned your basics, like you can't progress any further from this. But anyway, I guess what I was getting at there is that one of the biggest things that I think I have uh, come up to me as far as like people coming in saying, oh, hey, I want to start this miniature painting thing, but I feel like I'm not artistic enough to do it. And what I will say to that as kind of a rebuttal is that it 100% there is a level of this that is definitely artistry and you get to that point, but there's a ton of it that's just procedural. Like you're just learning how to put the color in the right spot. It's almost paint by numbers, but you have no guide.
Right.
And I find that once I kind of lay that out for people and kind of express, like, oh, you're just learning a few steps, like 1 through 3 steps is what you're trying to accomplish here. It really kind of helps springboard them into actually trying. And I think, as we know, trying is like 9/10 of the battle. You just have to get in there and you just have to do it. Otherwise, you're never gonna, graduate from not knowing how to do something type deal. So I
Yeah.
guess that's what my closing remark would be as far as like new painters.
Okay. No, I think that's perfect. And one of the things that people see me painting and they'll be like, "Oh man, I do not have the patience for that." And I'm like, "Well, that's not true." It really isn't a
Yeah,
matter of patience. It's about time. And
yeah,
you know, it when you're watching someone else do it, it looks like a matter of patience, but really it's a matter of
yeah,
persistence. Um,
yeah.
Especially depending on like
Well,
what you're trying to accomplish. There's obviously a lot more persistence
That's
needed if you're wanting to do display painting versus army painting, that sort of thing.
yeah.
And so, um, going back to what you said about people saying they're not artistic enough. I think, this is just me personally, being an artist,
Mhm.
telling other people that really you have more of an artist in you than you think. It just hasn't been
Yep.
encouraged or, poked and prodded to kind of come out of hiding, so to speak. And that just like you said about things being procedural, anybody can do a much better job than they think they can. They just have to
Mhm.
try. So then I guess that ties back into that very first, well, not the first thing you said, but one of the things you said earlier about just having confidence in yourself and going for it.
Yep. I think a lot of people kind of get hung up on this like mysticism that kind of survive or surrounds like arts, in a lot of ways, and it's just like you need to be born with this innate talent in order to do it. And it's just like
Sure.
no, it's just like any other skill. You
That's right.
you have to spend the time to learn it,
Yeah.
and that's really like the thing. Like one of the things that another one of those things that always kind of gets me, especially with new painters, is everybody always talks to me about how they don't have time to paint miniatures, and I always kind of try, and this is where I become kind of a meanie in a lot of ways. And it's just like, well, how much time do you spend playing X and Y video game? And how
That's
many
right.
TV shows do you watch? And all this
Hmm.
other stuff. And then they kind of understand. It's just like, well, this is my video game. This is my TV.
That's
Like, I
right.
would rather do this than that. And it really becomes like a matter of choices. Like you said, with time,
Hmm.
like we both have kids. So it's just like, we understand. You think you don't have time until you have kids, and then you
Then
really
you
don't
really
have
don't have
time,
time.
to do it. So yeah, and
No,
that changes everything. And
absolutely.
then you realize, oh, I've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to paint for 2 hours for myself.
That's
So
right.
it's a big deal.
Hmm. Man, I feel you
Yep.
there without a doubt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's you make time for your priorities. And so,
Exactly.
a lot of people don't want to prioritize learning a new skill. And, fair
Yep.
enough. But
Yeah.
it's quite rewarding to know that you put in effort, you did better than you think you will, because you will. And
Mhm.
especially like you said, with just resources that are available, not just in
Yep.
supplies, but in like tutorials and stuff. Good grief, the internet is chock full of stuff. And you and
It's
I
insane.
started painting around the same time, about 8 years ago.
Hmm.
Mine was 8 or 9. And, whenever I started, I just dove in. I didn't have a clue what I
Yeah.
was doing. I just knew that I wanted to do it. I didn't look up YouTube, and probably there wouldn't have been near as much subject matter either. So
Yeah.
nowadays,
Mm.
yeah, there's not much of an excuse.
No. Well, and people, again, going back to like Ninjon and Vince Ventrella, other guys like that, like they've really spearheaded that whole thing, and I can definitely appreciate like the many hours that they've all spent,
Mm,
getting this to the point where it is. I'll have to send you. There's another creator that I really like. I can't remember the name to save my life, but he does like this really cool like retro kind of style old world mix of like painting miniatures, and it's just
okay.
like his whole thing is he wants to go back to like the classic style, and he
Mm,
wants to represent it on the newer models, and it's phenomenal what he does. It's just like
mm,
this is so cool, and that probably would have never happened without all these forerunners that we're essentially talking about as far as like in the YouTube space.
right. Yeah, no, it's a great time to be alive and to
Yeah.
uh, drink from the depths of knowledge that are about, and to be inspired and such and
Yep.
things like that. So no,
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Hopefully, I've kept everybody entertained as far as like answering questions and whatnot. I know I get a little rambly sometimes
Oh
and
no, no, no,
go off on tangents,
not a
but
bit. I think that you did perfect. It's splendid.
good.
Not a thing
Good.
wrong with anything that you said or did today. So,
Awesome.
well, that being said, we're about to wrap things up here. So, how
Yeah.
about you finish up what you're working on there and
Yeah.
show the audience kind of what you've been able to accomplish?
Oh, see, I'm doing that hitting the camera thing you were just talking
Oh,
about.
yeah.
'Cause the arm's right in front of me. So really, I've just kind of sketched out what I'm gonna start finalizing. A lot of these fine black lines that I'm kind of starting to put in there. That's
Hmm.
really the texture that I'm trying to go for, more of like a chaotic, almost like old or dried out husk of a face, more mummy looking at the end.
Oh, I see.
Um, and yeah, really, it's me finding that back and forth between, okay, I need to add some more value here, I need to add some more shadows here, I need to add, some more definitions here, X and Y and all that other stuff. So for me, freehanding like this definitely can. I mean, I showed you a banner that I did for Christmas not too long ago,
Hmm.
and that thing probably took me close to 5 or 6 hours, like just
Yeah,
the constant going back and forth
that's
between,
right.
like, okay, well, is this in the right spot or is this in the wrong spot? um Painting faces can be very difficult too, and that's one of the things I was doing, especially like a side profile.
Hmm.
And I put the lip in the wrong place for a very long time, and
Oh,
finally I was just like, that looks funny, and just got rid of that entire section and then added it back in. So for anybody that's curious about freehanding, and like I said earlier, like one of the biggest tips that I have, one of the things that took me a long time to learn, is the value of being able to edit through overpainting. And I know that's kind of it seems very obvious, but I think it's one of those things that a lot of people miss, as far as like, your first line is not your last line. It's
correct.
merely just the skeleton of what you're gonna do.
Right.
So keep enhancing what you have, keep, refining. And that's really the key. Like, one of the big things that my art teacher from high school, one of my biggest influences, always told me is like, do something to that, do something to that, do something to that ad nauseum, because that's really how, this type of artwork works. There
Right.
is no end. You just stop, type
Hmm.
deal. And then eventually you probably come back to it if you have the opportunity. So
Yeah, that's right. You can make any piece infinitely better if you just want to keep putting that time into it. So it's really a matter
exactly.
of when is good enough.
Yeah. Usually when the customer comes and says, "Hey, I want my models,"
Right? Yeah. You're like, okay, here you go
for
then.
me at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
no, perfect. And so here is my Aegis. Nah, I do got to keep my
Yeah, I like
hand
those
there. I don't
wings.
want to do that. So
Yeah.
here, I'll bring them a little bit closer. There we go. So
Yeah,
yeah,
those look great.
I am modeling the color scheme off of a Mississippi kite.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you look one of those up, you'll
I
kind of see what I'm going for.
Somehow I didn't realize that he had double wings. I only saw the first set. I don't
Yeah,
know how I
that's
missed
right.
that, but
So again,
that's really
just
cool. And
talking
then
to, go ahead.
you said that you. So I've just experienced this Hero Forge thing for the
Mm-hmm.
first time not too long ago. I saw a YouTuber actually playing around with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and this might be my ignorance here, but it kind of seems like the sky is almost the limit as far as what they've got going on. I always knew Hero Forge was just like this thing where you have like 10 options and a few slides, and then you create like a D&D character and then you print it out. But what I was seeing the other day is phenomenal, as far as like, there's like articulated skeletons within the model now that you can actually change the pose
Yes,
and
that's
do all kinds of
correct.
crazy stuff. Like, and it sounds like you've got a lot of experience in that. So I probably need to talk to you, because like, one of my dreams, and this would probably take forever and cost a ton of money, but I would love to make my own miniature army,
Right.
just an entire army.
No,
But
that's
man,
yeah, that's actually kind of where this guy sort of came from. And the
yeah,
the fellows I had been working on in the previous Grey Shame episodes. But Hero
mhm,
Forge, not a sponsor, but you could be.
Yeah.
Their website has, become a lot better over the years, because the first time I
Yeah.
heard about it was probably 10, 11 years ago. And so just think
Yeah.
about, the progress that things have made or been able to make. And so, yeah, this particular the rock kind of base that he's standing on, that was just like one of
Mhm.
the options that you could choose, and whenever you did that, it put him in this pose kind of automatically. But then, like,
Yep.
I was able to, slide his glaive to this exact position. I could have had it slid back where he was holding it, all the way up here or just right in the middle.
Yeah.
And you can even flex like his wrist here. So, like, how high or low he'd be even tilting the thing. Likewise, even with the
Yeah.
wings, you could really go crazy and kind of shape them in whichever way you want. But yeah, it allows for much creative freedom, and you're talking about your own miniatures army. This guy was inspired by a sort of a group or a faction, I guess you could say, that I came up with years ago, which is a race of griffin people.
Mhm.
And so that's just
Yeah.
something that I've kind of always wanted to do for, this guy, maybe not him exactly, but something like this has been brewing in my mind for probably 15 years. And so it's satisfying to see something like this without a doubt. Um,
Well,
and
just
then
imagine what their website will look like in 10 years. Like
yeah,
that could be a
exactly.
very real possibility, right?
So they introduced a different sort of mechanic within the system
Hmm.
itself. You have to pay extra for it, and I think it just came out last year.
Yep.
It might have been 2 years ago. And so now they
Hmm.
have a kit bashing feature where you can grab. I wish I had a model with me where I could show you something that I did. Maybe next episode if I can remember. But there's um there's like other little bits of just like pre-made 3D objects that you can grab and stick into the figure basically wherever you want. So I've made a guy, he's just like a warrior guy, but then I took a bunch of
Hmm.
like dragon horns and I made
Yeah.
them sticking out like through his body kind of all over, just like he's covered in
Yeah.
spikes, sort of. And so that sort of thing. So when you said, it seems like the sky's the limit, I would say that's definitely true at this point.
Yeah. I've got a sounds like a really big resource library, which is amazing to hear. Because, like I said, my only familiarity with it was from years ago when I was just like, oh, I can make this really basic D&D character for the campaign I'm trying to do. Cool.
Right.
But that sounds way beyond what I was experiencing. So
Yeah.
that sounds like something I need to check out for sure.
And then, I
100%.
mean, I don't know if you have your own printer, but I do. And so you can buy just the STL files and then print them
Yep.
yourself, which would
Yep.
obviously allow you to scale them. So this guy is a little bit bigger than what it would have normally come as. But you're talking about like
Yeah.
making display pieces or whatever. So you can customize what you
Yeah.
want and then blow it up real big and then print it yourself. So
Yeah.
there's even more freedom
Things have
there,
gone
so to
so
speak.
easy. That's so cool.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so
Cool.
much, Steve, for joining me today. It's been a
Yeah, of course.
pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. It's been a lot of fun.
So thanks so much to you, audience, for tuning in. And until next time, be blessed and happy painting. All right, guys. So here's a look at Steve's War Dog Executioner. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get it completely finished by the time this episode went up, but here's the progress he made. And here's a look at Aegis that I painted. Thanks so much, as always, for watching and listening. Hope you got to catch up on your backlog as well. And be sure to like, subscribe, and share with anybody else who has a pile of Grey Shame. Until next time.